Hello, shop dog. Okay, so I've just marked up this drawing with some numbers here so I know what I'm looking at in terms of pieces to make this assembly, and I've made a cutting list, and then I've just chopped these pieces to length. So some of you guys in North America might be wondering about this blue steel. This comes to us generally prime coated, so this blue stuff is primed. I don't know where I got this bare stuff, but I've had to use a strip and clean wheel to get the rust off it. This prime coated stuff, all I'll do is just sand the paint off where I'm going to weld it, and then it's good to go. It's basically primed, ready for painting. So that's it, just done all the chopping. It's been about 2 hours to cut all that to length, and now I can start welding. Okay, I'm just cutting a few more bits and pieces before I start welding, and one of the things I'm going to do is these, I think they're about 10mm bits of flat bar. I've just docked them off at 50mm, and they're going to form the feet on the legs, but I'm going to drill and tap these for M10, a fine thread metric 10mm thread, and I'm going to use these as an adjustable foot. So this will sit on maybe a piece of plastic, Teflon or something on the concrete, and I'll be able to adjust, as I screw it in and out, I'll be able to adjust the height of the leg. So I'll be able to precision level the lathe stand on each of the corners. So I'll need a nut as a lock nut, so there'll be a threaded hole, the bolt will go in. So these are the longest machine screws that I could buy in this thread, so M10 by 50 on a 1mm pitch. So the bolt will go through, and then the lock nut will jam up against this plate from underneath just to lock it in position. So I could have simplified it a little bit and just drilled a hole and welded a nut on here, but this solution is a bit more elegant, and if I weld a nut here, then I need double as many nuts, and I had to buy all these individually, so I'm a tight ass. So luckily I do have M10 by 1mm tap. It's a bottoming tap, so I'm going to have trouble starting it, but that's a problem for later on. And again, if you haven't got these taps and things, you probably can't do it as like this. Now the reason I picked a fine thread is I'll get, with a smaller turn of the bolt, I'll get a smaller movement because of the pitch of the thread. So I could have used a 1.5mm, which is a standard metric M10 thread, but I've gone fine pitch. So I'll have more threads in this thickness of 10mm thickness of plate than I would if I had a standard pitch. So I'm not saying it's necessarily the best way, but it'll just give me finer adjustment when I'm turning the bolt. So just check my tapping thread, metric M10. So a standard M10 is 1.5mm pitch, and it's an 8.5mm tapping drill. Fine 1.25 is 8.8, but I'm using a M10 by 1, which looks like here it's considered a spark plug thread, and that's a 9mm tapping drill. So I'll go start drilling these out, and I'll have them all drilled and tapped before I weld them on, so that'll just save me trying to do it while the bench is assembled. Clearly it'll be a lot easier to do it now, so go do that now. Okay, so just moving on, and I've drilled all these blocks to 9mm. So I put a stop block in my vise, put them all in, probably drilled them, I don't know, 3 or 4mm, then punched them out with 9s, just countersunk that hole slightly to take the burrs off. Now, as I said, I've only got this one M10 by 1mm pitch tap, and it's a bottoming tap, so the threads, or the cutting section almost extends to the bottom. Starting taps are tapered off, so it's easy to get it in the hole, get it centered. So the risk with this is having trouble getting it started, marking up the hole, going off center, a whole lot of other things. Probably not such a big deal in a 10mm thick block like this, but I'm going to cheat a little. I've put my live center from my lathe tailstock. It happens to be a Morse taper 2, same as the drill spindle. So I can put some, I don't know whether you guys all can get access to this stuff, rapid tap. Where's it come from? Relton Corporation, Arcadia, California. There you go. I don't get paid to say this either, but this stuff is great. I use it on all the holes I tap. as a lubricant. And I'm just going to cheat a bit. I'm putting the tap in, and I'm going to just use the drill press handle just to hold the tap centered and coaxial with the hole. So if I've drilled it with this axis, this spindle axis, then in theory I'm now holding it parallel with that axis, so it should be straight. So I'm just putting a little bit of pressure on the handle, and I'm going to start the tap, and I'm just holding a little bit of pressure on the spindle handle just to get it going. So now you can see I should be able to see a burr coming out, some material coming out of there. So we're definitely in. I'll go about halfway, and then I can release the handle because I'll be started and I'll be straight. So I'm not sure whether this is cheating or not, but I don't care. This works for me and keeps me tapping straight. So now that we're there, and we'll do it, and we can just run the tapping the rest of the way. It's pretty easy now, so it must have threaded all the way through that block. Easy done.